This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America for this Tuesday morning. I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining me on today's show. On today's show, we're going to do a little retrospective on some of the Hollywood races, some of the bigger stakes races that have been run there over the years. I got 4 for today, and as the course of the week goes, we'll drop a few more in. But it is getting that time this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's it for Hollywood Park. I'd love to get out there. I've never been there. Love to get out. I'm not going to get the chance, obviously, but boy, certainly in my lifetime, probably the biggest track to, until then, it was the same company that owns Hollywood Park, Bay Meadows, when they took that one down. That's probably the biggest up in this area. Of course, we all think of Green Mountain, which was around for years and years and years, and that went defunct. How long ago has that been now? Certainly been a while since the horses were there, because at the end it was the dogs, but Green Mountain's been out for a while now. But Hollywood Park wraps up on the weekend. So we'll during the first part of the show, we'll take a look at some of their classic stakes races. About 10:30 or so, we're going to be joined by Gary Johnson from Beulah Park, get some thoughts on Beulah racing for this afternoon. Always want to remind people you can get Gary's picks, his selections each and every racing day on the Beulah Park website. And then a typical visit from Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise towards the end of the program. Do want to remind folks, just talked about at the end of Handicapper Support, but if you're just tuning in, Sunday, last day at Hollywood, Capital OTB is going to recognize that. The first 100 patrons through the door here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, will get a commemorative DVD looking at the top 15 stakes races of all time at Hollywood Park. And again, that's Sunday, first 100 folks through the door here at the Clubhouse Racebook. You can pick up that commemorative DVD. And as noted, a little later on the show, I'll take a look at some important Hollywood stakes from over the years as well. Past 24 hours, some interesting news came out via the Breeders' Cup folks. The Breeders' Cup folks commissioned a study to be done during this year's Breeders' Cup, looking at Lasix, the use of Lasix, and then the non-use of Lasix in the 2-year-old races. Now, there's been some controversy with the Breeders' Cup and Lasix over the past few years. They banned Lasix for the 2-year-old races for the past couple of years. That was supposed to extend to all of the races starting next year. There's been a pushback in the racing community. So next year, the Lasix ban won't be in place. But this year, the 2-year-old races, no Lasix. However, there were non-Breeders' Cup races for juveniles run over that Breeders' Cup weekend. So they did a study, got permission from a certain number of horsemen, and what was it, 56 total horses they looked at, it looks like. Yeah, and permission over those Breeders' Cup juvenile races and some of the non-Breeders' Cup juvenile races. They got permission from owners and connections to go and scope horses after the races were run and check for bleeding. So they looked at the Breeders' Cup races where the 2-year-olds were not allowed to race on Lasix. They looked at the non-Breeders' Cup races where horses were allowed to race on Lasix. They presented the results of the study yesterday. It was a little bit surprising because it showed that horses treated with Lasix had statistically significant higher incidence and severity of bleeding than the untreated horses. So the Lasix, in other words, the horses that had Lasix bled more than the horses that didn't use the Lasix. Now, and that obviously has created, I'm going to say furor. I haven't gotten wind of really some of the reaction, but as these articles, and there was one in the New York Times, and obviously the Blood Horse and Racing Forum covered this, and some other, Jenny Reese had something in the Courier Journal. There is obviously some surprise by those results, and there was surprise by the people presenting the results as well, that the horses with Lasix showed worse results than the horses without Lasix. Questioning how effective Lasix is, in other words. All of that said, I would go back, and yesterday there was a there was a teleconference involving the Breeders' Cup folks and the folks who conducted this study, who are from a veterinary facility in the Lexington area, I believe, and Dr. Nathan Slovis of the world-renowned Hagyard Equine Medical Institute in Lexington. So, it was a legitimate organization that conducted the study. But all of that said, I have the study linked on Equidaily. You can go read the actual study. You can see some of the articles about the study and some of the quotes that were made yesterday during the teleconference that presented this study. But if you read the study, first couple of pages of the study, the folks who put it together recognize this is not really the kind of study to do anything more than present an interesting idea that maybe then says, now we need more study. There are a lot of questions. It was not a study done in the most effective manner to do these kind of studies. Matt Hagerty mentions in his article, and in fact they mentioned in the study, now that I think of it, a couple of years back, well no, we're going back down to 2009, there was actually a study done in South Africa that's quoted quite a bit looking at Lasix. They used, this was a more comprehensive study. It involved a medical group from out in Colorado. It was done in South Africa because they got horses, raced them on Lasix, came back a week later. It may have been the other way around, raced them off Lasix and then came back. But they came back a week or a couple of weeks later, no Lasix. So it was a little more of a comprehensive study, a little more of a scientific study, this South African study from 4 or 5 years back. Their findings were Lasix was effective in preventing bleeding. So this study at the Breeders' Cup, which kind of counteracts that and says, the horses that had the Lasix bled worse than the horses that didn't. But as I say, read the study. Even the folks who put the study together say there are some flaws maybe in the methodology. It's interesting. It maybe warrants some more research. But, take it with a grain of salt. As I say, Jenny Reese wrote in her column about it that is on the Courier Journal website. She was a participant in the teleconference yesterday, and she said she asked during the teleconference, well, what about the horses that had the Lasix? They were in non-Breeders' Cup races. The horses in the Breeders' Cup races didn't have the Lasix. Did you check the frequency of racing? How did that factor in? And they didn't have those numbers available. So that was something in the study that they didn't count. As Jenny said, well, probably the non-Breeders' Cup horses have a different schedule than the Breeders' Cup horses. Also just, they mentioned in the study the breakdown of males and females and turf and dirt, sprints and distance. But this is a fairly limited sample. So it's a study that over the past 24 hours certainly has hit the racing news. And if you're checking and if you go to Equidaily, you'll see the coverage. As I say, the Times, the Racing Forum, Jenny Reese, it was in the Lexington paper as well. It's going to make some noise and some ripples. My point is, I'm not quite sure how significant this study really is, other than, as Jenny Reese kind of winds up her column and says something to the effect of, the study is something that maybe is interesting to provoke us now to do maybe a little more research. But some of the articles seem to be making conclusions, and I just think it's tough to do that off of this. And in fact, in the teleconference, the leader of the study says that. He says, we're not trying to say Lasix good or bad. We were just trying to present some facts, and the facts are kind of interesting coming out of this. So again, interesting study presented yesterday about looking at Breeders' Cup horses that raced either without Lasix or with it. Breeders' Cup weekend, there was the Breeders' Cup horses were without, the non-Breeders' Cup horses had the Lasix. All right, mentioned this on the Handicappers Report. I pulled up the Watchmaker Watch, which is the weekly divisional ratings put together by Mike Watchmaker, and I find them interesting. It's only one man's opinion, but he goes through each of the Eclipse categories on a weekly basis and updates according to the stakes that were run that weekend. And I found it interesting, I wanted to look at the 2-year-old male category and see what he did with Shared Belief. Well, Mike Watchmaker pops Shared Belief up to the #1 spot after the Hollywood Futurity on the weekend. Shared Belief, prior to that, off the first 2 starts of its career, had been #8 on his list, but Shared Belief goes to #1. The comment, and under the top 4 in every division, he has a little sentence that just kind of gives some thoughts. Under Shared Belief, he has most talented 2-year-old male I saw this season. And as I said on the Handicappers Report earlier, it's going to be interesting now as we go forward with the Eclipse votes. I agree. I think this is maybe the best 2-year-old. So will the Eclipse voters look at it that way, or will they look at that record and give so much weight to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile that New Year's Day takes the award? It's becoming kind of interesting now. New Year's Day on the watchmaker list moves from 1 to 2. Havana moves from 2 to 3. Honor Code moves from 3 to 4. So nothing's juggled up underneath, which isn't a surprise. None of those horses raced, but Mineshaft shoots up to the top of the list, and I found that kind of interesting. Also from the past few days, this came out, I think it came out on Friday, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it over the weekend on Loose on the Lead, and I didn't mention it yesterday, but voting is now open for the NTRA Moment of the Year. Pretty good selection, interesting selection. I don't know whether anything absolutely jumps out at me, but it's a list of, what do we have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about a dozen potential candidates here for the NTRA Moment of 2013. Just to give you an idea of some of these, Hall of Famer Gary Stevens rides his first winner on the comeback back on January 12th at Santa Anita. This is one I find very interesting. I don't know whether it's the kind that will garner enough votes, but it certainly wasn't a moment that attracted a lot of attention in a viral video kind of situation. We showed it on this show at least once or twice over the past year. Spicer Cub and his race down at Laurel, or Pimlico, excuse me, where as he came down the stretch, he bolts to the outside and goes around the starting gate, which is parked out on the far side of the stretch by the fence, and goes between the fence and the starting gate and almost wins the race under the X-Men, Xavier Perez. Quirky, just as I say, a fun event that we've looked at a few times. But as I note, I think it's so quirky. I'm not sure it's the kind that would get Moment of the Year, particularly as, again, Gary Stevens and his comeback. Other on here, Oxbow in the Preakness, Orb in the Derby, Painter on his comeback from a life-threatening illness, Russell Bays winning his 12,000th race, becoming the first North American rider to do that. Ken and Sarah Ramsey with their 3 Grade 1s on one day. Out at Arlington, the Secretariat, and the Arlington Million at Saratoga, the Sword Dancer. Again, 3 Grade 1s on one day. Very nice event there. We'll take charge in the Travers. So Saratoga getting a couple of mentions there. Retired jockey Ramon Dominguez getting the Mike Venezia Award. Misdirection winning the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint for the second time. Wise Dan in the Breeders' Cup Mile, and Mucho Macho Man in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So again, it's an interesting list. I think it covers a lot. You know, Spicer Cub, you have lesser quality horses, but a fun, quirky kind of event. And then on the other end, you have the Breeders' Cup races. So I think you're covering the gamut. You got tracks all over the country, different personalities. It's a fun list. Nothing absolutely jumps off the page at me. So it's going to be interesting to see where the public goes. But again, online voting is now open. This is the NTRA Moment of the Year. So if you go to the NTRA website, ntra.com, you can cast your vote for the 2013 Moment of the Year. Also, Pat Cummings was on with us yesterday. He talked a little bit about the Global Symposium of Racing and Gaming that was held out at the University of Arizona last week. He talked mostly about his panel and the use of statistics and making the statistics maybe a little more expansive, presenting them a little differently, a little more fan-friendly. He talked a lot about that, but then I asked a little bit about what else was interesting to him out at the Global Symposium, and he mentioned they had seen a presentation of the new reality series that is going to be based on racing handicap contest players. It's been shooting for a while, and Pat said he saw about a 10-minute presentation, looked very good. It's the same company that put together that Jockeys reality show that was on cable television, about 3-4 years ago. That was kind of fun. That was too bad that wrapped up, because I think it was kind of fun. It just may not have had the mainstream appeal. We'll see what this one does. But I bring it up because yesterday a press release was sent out noting that the series will premiere on January 21st. It includes a preview video, only lasts about a minute, but it was kind of interesting. I have that linked on Equidaily. You can go and you can pull up that article, the press release, and the video. It's about a minute, as I say, but it gives you a look at this new series. It's called Horse Players. Again, it'll be debuting January 21st. The knock is it's going to be on the Esquire network, and I'm just not sure what the penetration is. It's a cable network, and I'm not quite sure what that penetration is in a lot of the markets around the country, or how easy it is to find on your local cable TV dial. But it's going to be worth searching for. It seems like Horse Players is going to be a lot of fun. They're going to be following, again, they have a few of these handicap contest players that they focus on, people who have done well in the past and seem logical to be contenders moving forward to the championship in Las Vegas. The press release mentioned some of the key players that they will be following. So should be a fun series, you would think. Horse Players, again, premiering Esquire Network on January 21st. And as noted, you can go online and catch the little 1-minute preview video as well. All right, as noted, when we come back from the break, I have some stakes races, some classic stakes races from Hollywood Park to take a look at. As we go to the break, we're going to take a look at one of the earliest stakes races out at Hollywood that attracted some attention and some notoriety and helped make the reputation of Hollywood Park. We're going to go back to the 1938 Hollywood Gold Cup. That's going to take us into the first break. I bring this up because, and I pulled up the list, I think it's a Jay Privman list from the Daily Racing Form, and Jay Privman has there's a bunch of Hollywood memory articles on the Racing Form and have been over the past few days. They're very easy to find if you go to the DRF website currently. They're listed, most of them, on the front page at the moment. But Jay Privman has a top 25 list from the past 75 years. First up is this Hollywood Gold Cup. I'll tell you what he wrote. Seabiscuit, carrying 133 pounds, wins the inaugural running of what would become the track's signature race during a year in which he, Seabiscuit, also captured the Pimlico Special match race against War Admiral and the Del Mar match race against Ligarati, en route to titles as Horse of the Year and Champion Older Horse. So certainly after the movie a couple of years ago, Seabiscuit in the public consciousness, we will now see his 1938 Hollywood Gold Cup. Also, this video encompasses opening day at Hollywood Park. So a great way to kind of kick off a little memory lane trip, Hollywood Park. Opening day, the inaugural running of the 1938 Hollywood Gold Cup, inaugural running of the Hollywood Gold Cup, with Seabiscuit winning. That'll take us into the first break. When we come back, some more looks at classic Hollywood Park stakes races. A little later on, Gary Johnson from Beulah. After that, Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise. Stay tuned.
On June 10th, 1938, the place to be in Southern California was Inglewood for the opening of the new racetrack. It fast became Hollywood's favorite playground. The stars came to see and be seen, and the racing public was enthralled. The first meeting was so successful that a new $50,000 race was added to the schedule, the Hollywood Gold Cup. Perhaps Eddie Cantor's eyes popped more than usual because he spotted the great Seabiscuit driving between Specify and Which Sea to win going away. Of course, Seabiscuit became a member of the Hall of Fame, as did his jockey, George Wolfe.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, Head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Going into the break, the Great Seabiscuit in the inaugural running of the Hollywood Gold Cup. That was back in 1938. Again, you also had a little video of opening day, some of the celebrities that showed up there. Last week, I took a look at the Niatros race on Thursday, I think it was. And then we looked at Affirmed winning the Gold Cup himself, and both of those days, you saw the celebrities there in that video, but last week we saw the apron packed in the Niatros race. When you heard him announce the three-quarters time, you could hear the crowd. So certainly, Hollywood over the past few years, like most American tracks, the crowds have dwindled a little bit, but boy, you go back and see some of these classic videos and films of Hollywood Park. The place was jammed and the racing was quality, and we'll take a look at some more Hollywood Park classic stakes races here. Again, looking down the list of 25 top races that was put together. As I said, I believe it was by Jay Privman, but it's a Daily Racing Form article that you can still pull up. I'm just touching on a few of them, so you can go down his entire list via drf.com. Now we're going to look at the 1968 Californian, Dr. Fager. Dr. Fager, one of the all-time greats. And I have to say, it was slightly before I became a racing fan. It was a ways before I became a racing fan. Now being kind of tied in and with the Echo site, looking at news and history of the sport, certainly Dr. Fager has hit my radar screen. If you're new to it, or really even over the past 20 years, he's a horse that potentially could float under your radar screen, but worth looking up and seeing what Dr. Fager did. He's really one of the all-time greats of the sport. We're going to look at the 1968 Californian. Privman article says Dr. Fager in the midst of one of the greatest seasons in American racing, and in his only start in California, carries 130 pounds to a three-length victory over 13 rivals. He set fractions of 45 seconds for a half mile, 1:08 3/5 for 6 furlongs en route to a final time of 1:40 for a mile and a 16th. So right now, up next, it is the 1968 Californian and Dr. Fager.
In the summer meeting at Hollywood Park, handicap horses from all over the country gathered to compete in the first $100,000 race at the track of the Lakes and Flowers, the Californian. Carrying the top impost of 130 pounds was perhaps the best horse in training at that moment in the land, Dr. Fager, trained by flamboyant John Nerud. It was noted at post time that no horse had ever carried 130 pounds to victory in this race, with Swaps, Round Table, Prove It, and Kelso among the good ones defeated at one time or another. 14 thoroughbreds went postward. They're all in the gate, and here is Harry Henson to call the Californian.
And there they go. Dr. Roy E. is going to the front. Kissin' George is second, moving up on the inside. Dr. Fager, third on the outside. Rising Market is fourth. Barb's Delight, fifth. Fieldmaster, sixth. Then Sand Devil, Our Michael. Traffic Charger, Proud Land on the inside. Zulu Lad, Aurelius, and Lucky Bush around the turn. It's Kissin' George in front, drawing out to by 2 lengths. Rising Market is second. By a head, Dr. Roy E. Third. By a length and a half, Dr. Fager. Fourth by a length and a half. Barb's Delight is fifth. Fieldmaster sixth. Sand Devil, Our Michael, Gamely, and Proud Land going into the far turn. There goes Dr. Fager moving up on the inside. It's still Kissin' George in front on the outside. By a neck, Dr. Fager is second on the rail by a length and a half. Rising Market, third by a neck. Dr. Roy E. fourth by 4 lengths. Barb's Delight is fifth. Gamely sixth. Our Michael and Fieldmaster around the turn. It's Dr. Fager in front on the rail by a head. Kissin' George is second by 2.5 lengths. Rising Market third by a length. Dr. Roy E. is fourth. Barb's Delight fifth, and Gamely turning into the stretch. It's Dr. Fager in front by 3/4 of a length. Kiss and George is second by 1 length. Barb's Delight third. Gamely is fourth. And Rising Market Aurelius pulled up. It's Dr. Fager in front by 2.5 lengths. Gamely is second. Rising Market third. And Barb's Delight. Dr. Fager in front. Gamely and Rising Market. And Dr. Fager is the winner by 3 lengths. Gamely second by a length with Rising Market finishing third.
Breaking the 130-pound jinx with apparent ease, Dr. Fager, number 9, flew in on Thursday, raced Saturday, and left Sunday, $74,600 richer.
130 pounds, Dr. Fager gets it done in the 1968 Californian out at Hollywood Park. You know, 130 pounds now, folks cry, but Dr. Fager, again, if you're not familiar with him, go back. And I will recommend a book. Boy, maybe you can ask somebody for Christmas. They may have to hustle a little bit. But if you're not familiar with Champions, and I think if you go to DRF, you can probably find it there because I think it's a DRF publication. But Champions is a great book that every horse fan should have in their library. It is essentially the past performances. It's very simple. It's kind of the past performances of all the Eclipse champions over the years, and before the eclipses even. I mean, it goes back, it goes decade by decade. But it's a great way to kind of just rekindle memories or maybe introduce you to some really great horses over the years and look back at the races they won, how it was done, weight that was carried, times and whatnot. As I say, it's the past performances of these various champions. So that is the name of the book, Champions, and it should be available via DRF Press, I believe. And they update it every few years. So check for that one. As I say, maybe ask for it for the holidays. Quick turnaround. You still have time before Christmas. Dr. Fager getting it done in the 1968 Californian. Now let's take a look. 1977 Swaps. And this race is interesting, not only for the winner. Winner is interesting, J.O. Tobin, but for the horse that runs fourth in this race. That is Seattle Slew. Has the winning streak snapped. Seattle Slew, who had won the 1977 Triple Crown, subsequently ships out to Hollywood Park, faces J.O. Tobin. J.O. Tobin with Bill Shoemaker on board. You'll see J.O. Tobin take the lead and not relinquish it. You'll hear plenty of calls for Seattle Slew, but Seattle Slew will fade in the stretch. Subsequently went to the sidelines. There was some thought of, maybe Seattle Slew was not at the top of his game physically in this race. Maybe shouldn't have raced and does go to the sidelines for the rest of the season. Winds up, however, obviously with the Triple Crown, gets the 3-year-old Eclipse despite this defeat, gets the Horse of the Year in 77. But again, a shocking, shocking defeat out at Hollywood in 1977 in the Swaps. Here we go. It's J.O. Tobin, Bill Shoemaker on board, upsetting the previously undefeated Triple Crown winner, Seattle Slew.
J.O. Tobin is going to the front. Seattle Slew is second. Affiliate third on the inside. Text is fourth. Mr. Gus fifth. Mr. Red Wing sixth. And White Sprite trails. Coming by the stand the first time, it's J.O. Tobin in front by 2.5 lengths. Seattle Slew is second by 2 lengths. Affiliate third by a head. Text fourth on the outside by 3 lengths. Minnesota Gus is fifth. And Mr. Red Wing and White Sprite. Around the first turn, it's J.O. Tobin in front by 2.5 lengths. Seattle Slew is second on the rail by a head. Tex third by 5 lengths. Affiliate fourth by 2 lengths. Minnesota Gus is fifth. Then Mr. Red Wing and White Sprite. Turning into the backstretch, it's J.O. Tobin in front by 1 length. Tex is second by a head. Seattle Slew third by 10 lengths. Affiliate fourth. Then Minnesota Gus, Mr. Red Wing, and White Sprite. And the backstretch is J.O. Tobin in front by 2 lengths. Seattle Slew is second on the inside by a neck. Tex third by 8 lengths. Then Affiliate, Mr. Red Wing, and Minnesota Gus. Around the far turn is J.O. Tobin in front by 3 lengths. Seattle Slew is second by a half length. Tex third by 8 lengths. Then Affiliate of Minnesota Gus. Turning for home, it's still J.O. Tobin out in front, and he's widening. J.O. Tobin by 5 lengths. Text is now second, 3/4 of a length. Seattle Slew third, and Affiliate is closing much ground. Into the stretch, it's J.O. Tobin in front by 6 lengths. Tex to second by ahead, affiliate third by 3, and Seattle Slew is dropping back. Seattle Slew is well beaten. It's J.O. Tobin out in front by 8 lengths. J.O. Tobin, affiliate on the outside, and Tex, and J.O. Tobin is the winner by 8.5 lengths. Affiliate second and nose, with Tex finishing third by 6 lengths. Then Seattle Slew is fourth.
Slew goes down to defeat for the first time in his career in the 1977 Swaps. And again, we're continuing a little look at some of the classic stakes races from Hollywood Park as we're less than a week away from the all-time closing of Hollywood Park, a track where some iconic racing events were held, some innovative wagers were introduced. It's a track with a lot of racing history, and it's really sad that it is disappearing from the landscape. Finally, before we take our next break, let's take a look at the 1978 Invitational Turf Handicap, according to Jay Privman. Again, I'm picking some of my races here from the nice article Privman wrote in the Racing Forum. Hollywood Park, a top 25 list from 75 years. 1978 Invitational Turf Handicap, according to Privman. This was one of the finest grass fields ever assembled, and the race went to Exceller, who defeated 11 rivals, including Eastern Invaders Bowl Game and Noble Dancer. Later that summer, Exceller won the Gold Cup on dirt and then returned to turf to take the Sunset. That fall, he won the Jockey Club Gold Cup. And I will mention what Privman doesn't mention. Exceller came east and won the Jockey Club Gold Cup in '78 and beat Affirmed and Seattle Slew, 2 Triple Crown
horse by the time he arrived in the United States at the end of his 4-year-old campaign. By then, he already had won Group 1 stakes in France and England and the Grade 1 Canadian International Championship. But his 5-year-old campaign in the U.S. was to be his best season.
And there they go.
Exceller went postward as a slight favorite over Bowl Game in the 1978 edition of the Hollywood Invitational. As long shots Double Discount and Effervescing sprinted to the early lead, Bill Shoemaker took Exceller back to last in the field of 12. The shoe had moved Exceller up to 9th with a half-mile to run, and Exceller was rolling on the outside.
There goes Exceller, moving up strongly on the outside. At Bowl Game and no turning. Going into the far turn, it's Effervescing in front. By ahead, Noble Dancer is second. By 1 length, Exceller third. Moving up on the outside, Duveen is fourth. Bowl Game fifth, moving strongly on the extreme outside. And Gallivanter turning for home. It's Noble Dancer in front. By ahead, Exceller is second.
But Exceller on the outside had the lead heading into the stretch and drew off to win by 2.5 lengths. Bowl Game overtook Noble Dancer to finish second. Exceller, who carried high weight of 127 pounds, covered the final quarter mile in 24-2. His final time of 2:25-4 was just 1/5 off the existing course record. This triumph, one of 7 graded stakes victories during 1978 for Exceller. During the fall of that year, Exceller made history by becoming the only horse to defeat 2 Triple Crown winners in the same race, when he beat millionaire Seattle Slew and Affirmed in the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup. However, when the Eclipse Awards were decided at the end of the year, Seattle Slew was voted champion older horse, and Affirmed was selected Horse of the Year for the 2nd straight year. Exceller didn't even win the Eclipse Award as champion grass horse. That honor went to Mac Diarmida. Exceller, who is a half-brother to last year's champion 2-year-old colt Capote, retired to stud at Gainesway Farm in Kentucky with earnings of $1,650,000. He's one of 4 millionaires sired by Vaguely Noble, who also stands at Gainesway.
The great and tragically ill-fated Exceller, that's a story for another day, though. We're just taking a commemorative look at Hollywood Park. And I'm told my mic went out just before I got into the Privman description of this race. We watched the 1978 Invitational Turf Handicap at Hollywood Park. According to Pribman, one of the finest grass fields ever assembled. The race went to Exceller, defeated 11 rivals, included Eastern Invaders Bowl Game and Noble Dancer. And later that summer, Exceller, and again, this is another one, pull up that Champions book and look for Exceller. Although, will Exceller be it? Because Exceller is surprisingly robbed of some eclipses. I don't know whether the next year he won or not, but that's a good question. But I'm sure you can find plenty of information on the internet about Exceller. And if you're not familiar, and again, this is going back to 78, worth looking up. But later that year, 1978, came to New York Jockey Club Gold Cup. Exceller defeated Affirmed and Seattle Slew. Affirmed a little trouble with his saddle. Seattle Slew set some fast fractions. Coming from far back in the field was the great Exceller to beat a couple of Triple Crown champions in the 1978 Jockey Club Gold Cup. But just before I came back on there, we were looking at the 1978 Invitational Turf Handicap out at Hollywood Park. Just a little wrap-up of 3 interesting stakes from various eras. Seabiscuit in 1938. We looked at Dr. Fager, 1968, 1977. Seattle Slew gets beaten by J.O. Tobin. And Exceller in 1978. Some of the great races and great horses that have been seen at Hollywood Park over the years as they're getting to wrap up, approaching quickly the final day at Hollywood on Sunday. Don't forget, if you come down here to the Clubhouse Racebook on Sunday, first 100 patrons will get a commemorative DVD looking at 15 of the top races from Hollywood Park. All right, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, Gary Johnson from Beulah Park. Stay tuned.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free, interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night School in the Buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today. Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America for this Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning means a weekly visit from Gary Johnson. Always happy to be visited by Gary. Good morning, Gary. Gary.
Yes, I'm here, Seth.
Good morning. And as I contacted you last night, you said you may be a little late getting on. Everything worked out all right, though. But your grandparents' day, how'd that work out?
Well, I didn't become a grandparent today, but, you know, it was at school, so I was the volunteer. I didn't know it, but I was the volunteer. It was a lot of fun.
Very, very good. What grade's your granddaughter, grandson?
He is in first grade. First grade.
Okay, excellent.
You know, I didn't even know they had grandparents' day. You know, back towards our days when we were in school, you know, we were just, a day was a day.
Yeah, exactly. But my sister goes to, I know, her grandkids' school as well for Grandparents' Day, so I know that's become something of a phenomenon, but that had to be a lot of fun with the first graders.
Yeah, but I mean, what are they got to do it on a Tuesday for? I got
Beulah today. I mean, of all days.
That worked out, though. All right. Well, let's take a look. Give us an idea. Obviously, over the past week or so, we've had some weather issues at some of the tracks around the country. In fact, yesterday, I was in doing the handicapping show early in the morning on Monday. I had looked at Parks. They canceled again. So kind of mid-show, I shifted stream and handicapped Beulah. Beulah went off without a hitch. What's the weather look like out there today?
I think we're going to have a repeat of yesterday. The weather seems to be everything's going to be the same. I believe weather shouldn't be a factor. One thing that happened to me yesterday on my little handicap, but the inside seemed to be pretty good inside posts, and I kind of like some horses that were outside and didn't work out too well, but I kind of look for the same today.
All right. And Gary, before we get into the handicapping portion, just wanted to touch on, I mentioned at the top of the show, a press release went out about that new show called Horse Players that's going to be on cable TV starting in January. Some of the folks that are looking at, John Conti, Michael Bachok, Kevin Cox, and again, it's going to focus on these players in handicapping tournaments from the past year or so. You're a big handicapping tournament player. Have you seen the cameras at some of the contests?
Yeah, I've seen them at most of them, and I've actually had to sign a release a few times, so I'll be popping in there in a few of the scenes. But yeah, it seems like they're really promoting it, and it seems to be a lot of fun, and it's kind of what it's all about. I haven't seen the show; I just see a little bit of a preview of it, but I have been present when they have been filming.
Yeah, it should be fun. January 21st is the premiere, so I think we're all looking forward to it. All right, let's shift our attention now to the racing this afternoon at Beulah Park. Race number 2 today, 5,000 conditional claimer. They're going 5.5. What are your thoughts on race 2?
Yeah, race 2, I'm going to do something I normally don't like to do. I don't like to do chase horses. Is what I mean. There's a horse in here that I've liked, and I'm going to go with him again, and that's the number 4. I'm making notes. I keep getting notes on the horse. Always seems to have a reason to lose, but last time out, the horse got duel between horses. It was a brutal duel. Really had no breather and kept on running. Had no reason to really run to the end, and did. And today I'm looking at the aspect the horses outside of him or her have zero speed. We have a couple of them coming off a route. So I'm making notes to have clear selling today and no more excuses.
Yeah, and we've all done that. You're on a horse and you get married and you just can't give up. But the benefit is the last couple of starts, even money 2 starts back, ran second, 9-5 last time, 4-1 on the morning line, and off the last couple, maybe that'll hold up. So maybe you'll get a little more value on the third try.
Yeah, that's true. What I've noticed, Seth, these Mondays, Tuesdays, we are, some of the horses do get way over bet, but if you can get a horse that's reasonable price, you're really getting an overlay, because there's a lot of people participating in Monday, Tuesday at Beulah that normally never bet it, and they really, overload on some of these chalks.
Yeah, and I will also say, going back to, I've handicapped Finger Lakes a lot during the past few months, and also on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you play the picks, the pick 3s and the pick 4s, if you can get one of those big favorites out, and it doesn't even have to be crazy. You beat a 6-5 and it's just a 3-1 or a 4-1 or something, that can really juice up the picks nicely.
Yeah, and as we've talked before, I'm one of those pick 3 and 4 players myself, and that's what I always look to. And I do see the 2-horse Aragon Quest that is a 7-5 morning line with a good form. And I think she'll get bet again once again. I'm hoping she does, but I really don't care for her.
Yeah, and then, as I say, those short prices take a lot of action in the picks. All right, third race today, starter allowance at the 4 level. These starter allowances are always very salty. This one, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, they're going to go a quick 5.5.
I'll tell you what, this is one of those I just kind of went over I just decided I'll do my handicapping method. When I see a lot of speed, I'm going to take a closer. I'm going to go with the 4-horse Holleran. Don't believe she's the best horse by no means. I mean, she's kind of consistent going by horses at the end. But today, it looks like everybody wants to lead, and the 8-horse Judy's Reflection, who is the best horse, needs to lead. So I'm going to take a shot here, and I think we're going to have a nice price with the 4 Holleran.
Yeah, and you make a great point. Sometimes it's not always the best horse. You've got to look at the pace scenario. And as you say, you look down the 2 pages here of the racing form, there are a lot of 1s on there, so you may be up to something. 8th race today, again, another starter allowance, this time at the 5,000 level. These are 3-year-olds and up, and this time they're going to go 2 turns, 1.70.
Yeah, I mean, in here we have a horse that's 12-1. Boy, if I could get 6-1 right now, I'd go all in on the horse, and that's the number 2 horse, In the Name of the Father. I mean, the horse is a standout today. Look no farther. Ralph Martinez, I mean, he is dominating at Beulah, and we're going to notice the start two back at Beulah. Absolutely crushed the field. Beat T.O.'s Genso, the horse that we came back, and I think we might have had a winner that day. Went over to Turfway, and Turfway on December the 1st, on the charts, it shows every horse that was last won all the races. So here's a horse that was chased at a fast pace for much more money and much better horses. Back to Beulah, the 2-hole, good trip. I can't give you nothing bad to say here. I'd love to get 12-1, but I don't think we're going to get it. But whatever we get, we're going to take it.
Is that right that day at Turfway, all the winners came from the last position?
On December the 1st, yes. Wow. Every horse dominated close. You know, naturally, I'm one of those guys always pick up on the 7th race. You know, when it gets late, you know, in the card, and a little too late, you know, and you start looking back, and all the closers, you know.
That's amazing. Talk about a track bias. And also, this jockey has really hit my radar screen looking at Beulah over the past couple of weeks. He is hitting at a very, very high percentage out there.
You know, he is, and a couple other trainers putting him on horses, and I noticed the horses they're putting him on aren't big favorites. You know, Ralph Martinez seems to run a lot of favorites, but and he's getting the job done at big prices for other outfits. So I agree with that. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gary, we certainly appreciate the visit this morning, and we appreciate your taking time out for Grandparents' Day. That's great. You were over there with the first graders. That's a lot of fun. So, again, thanks for the visit. Oh, and by the way, probably not going to talk to you for another, couple of weeks, right?
It's going to be a couple of weeks. Little break. We're going to go for Christmas. I got to get in here and give these kids the winners, too, today, by the way.
There you go. Get them started early. I like that.
I got to read. I got to go read. They want me to read, so I'm going to read for them.
All right. We'll let you get back to that. And thanks for the visit this morning. Again, we'll catch up to you. They come back, I think, January 5th?
January 5th.
All right, so we'll talk to you after the new year. Have a great holiday, Gary. Thanks for the visit.
Same to you, same to everybody.
All right, we'll take our next break, and when we come back, Michael Chamberlain at Turf Paradise. Stay tuned.
I'm Jeff Carl. Join me Saturdays and Sundays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the weekend in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekends at 9, only here on the OTB TV network.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Tuesday morning means Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise. Good morning, Michael.
Morning. How are you doing?
Very good. How about you? As I drove in this morning, it didn't seem that cold. I said this earlier. I came out of my house. It didn't seem this cold, but the radio weatherman said -1, and it did start to snow a little bit. I'm assuming your weather for this afternoon will be much, much better.
Well, yeah, we are planning on having a very nice 78 degrees sunny afternoon here in Phoenix.
You're killing me.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry to say, but we're looking forward to just an awesome afternoon.
Excellent. And I always say, I like that because it gives us, we live vicariously as we watch Turf Paradise and some of the Florida racing during the winter. Always fun, and just gives us a little bit of a respite, at least visually. Michael, speaking of Turf Paradise, I want to go back, before we look at this afternoon, go back to this past weekend. Had a nice little stakes race on Saturday. City of Phoenix, it was for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. They went 6 furlongs. The winner, as we watch the stretch run, is going to be the number 10, Tribal Gal. Going to get it done pretty easily as the second choice, as the favorite, at 9-5. Tribal Gal, couple starts back, showed some nice promise at Turf Paradise, winning a stakes race on a move from Del Mar. Last time had some trouble, and as the 20-cent to the dollar favorite, finished 5th in the Cactus Flower. But again, as we watch the stretch run from last Saturday, Tribal Gal gets it done in the City of Phoenix and does it pretty convincingly at 9-5.
Absolutely. She had an outstanding trip and was very expertly handled that day. A horse you may want to keep an eye on going forward out of that race is the number 1 horse, Kind of Naughty. Galen Mitchell was in the Red Silks on that horse in that stakes race. It was actually my choice of the day that afternoon. The horse normally is a speed horse and just did not get out of the gate, had a little bit of an issue there at the start, and still made a very nice rally to get up and run for third in a race that ended up not being to her liking at all as far as her running style is concerned. So I'm looking forward to seeing when Kind of Naughty comes back here at Turf Paradise, and I think she'll be someone to keep an eye on maybe next time out.
All right, now we'll alert people. I think we had some technical difficulties because we didn't see the stretch run, but Kind of Naughty runs third. Tribal Gal gets it done in there. All right, let's take a look at some racing for this afternoon. You've got a couple ideas for us. We'll kick things off in race number 6 today. And on the handicapping report earlier, the show we had just prior to this, I actually looked at Turf Paradise, so going to be interested to match minds here perhaps. 6th race at Turf Paradise, conditional claimer, $6,250 the price, non-winners to 2 lifetime the condition, 6.5 furlongs the trip, and horse you have on top is a horse I put in my 3rd position. Talk a little bit about the number 7, Disaster Peak.
Disaster Peak is a horse that broke the maiden here at Turf Paradise 2 starts back on November 17th, going a mile. Now, went and tried the turf last time out with Better Claiming Company, and if you'll note, there are several other horses in this race that were in that last race on December 2nd. Now, Disaster Peak ended up running 5th and was really kind of sluggish, and I really don't know if the turf was really his kind of show. So getting back on the main track, cutting back in distance here, and I think the big factor, you get Scott Stevens getting back in the irons. He was aboard for the victory on November 17th, gets the call again today for trainer Eric Crueljack, and I really like the chances in Disaster Peak to rebound today and get back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, I put it in the mix as well. I had Disaster Peak in the 3rd position. I put Mojave Secret on top, just on the fact that up at Emerald Downs, I thought that horse had maybe found the comfort zone. I think the competition will be similar down at Turf Paradise, so I used Mojave Secret on top. But on the class drop, I agree, I find Disaster Peak a little bit dangerous.
And I do have Mojave Secret as well in my pick 5 play as well, because that is the kickoff leg of our 50-cent pick 5 at Turf Paradise today. And I do want to mention we have a $16,528 carryover in that wager today. So we are expecting a booming day of business as far as our pick 5 is concerned. Yeah,
Tuesday is a great day because, there just is not a lot of racing around the country. And so when a track like Turf Paradise can be out there and offering a nice $16,000 carryover on a 50-cent pick 5, I'm sure it'll attract a lot of attention. And hopefully we'll give folks a couple of horses to think about during that sequence, and we'll move out later in the sequence. Race number 9 at Turf Paradise this afternoon. Plain Vanilla Claimer at the $6,250 level. These are on the turf at 1 mile. I'll tell you, in this race, I took a shot with the number 6, Give a Junior Mint. Once again, I have your top pick in the 3rd spot.
My top pick is actually going to be the veteran of the group, number 10, Fox in the House. Anyone that follows racing at Turf Paradise is very familiar with this horse. He has started 32 times on the turf at Turf Paradise, winning 7 of those, finishing 2nd in 8 of those, and this veteran always gives his best effort, and I think he's going to pop for a big one today. He's run on the turf already 4 times this meet, has a win, a 2nd, and a 3rd in the course of those starts. Daniel Vergara has been aboard for all 4 of them, and I think that the race is going to set up as a nice comeback effort for him, because last time on December 1st, you'll note the comment in the program, broke in the air. and I just didn't think that he had enough time to overcome that. Still managed to run mid-pack and only lost by about 4.5 lengths in that race. So Fox in the House, a horse that always gives his best effort, and as we mentioned, as part of that pick 5 sequence, I'm going to put him in there as a horse that's going to certainly try for you, and certainly could pop for a nice win.
Yeah, as I said, I have that one down in the third spot. All the reasons you just said. I put Give It Junior Mint on top. That's just one of those, and it's a handicapping angle. Won a very similar race last time, so why not right back? I kind of feel that about horses like this. They're just coming back after good efforts, and particularly winning efforts in similar competition. In the second spot, though, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on number 7, Pastero. I thought on the class drop, this horse was interesting, particularly at 12-1 on the morning line.
I have Pastero very prominent in my pick 5 play, and he actually is my second choice in here today. Was a winner 2 back at turf. The sire, Johar, of course, very good on the turf as well. And Patrick Canchari won a turf race yesterday, and he stole it up front. He went right to the lead and took off and never looked back. This horse obviously does not have that running style looking at the past performances, but, Patrick can come back with a nice win today. And if you get that kind of a price, it certainly could help that pick 5 along the way.
Yeah, I think at the class relief, this horse is going to be very, very interesting. All right, Michael, we certainly appreciate the visit. Again, a reminder, $16,000 pick 5 carryover today at Turf Paradise. So good luck with your selections, and we will talk to you next week.
Actually, we're not racing next Tuesday, so Christmas Eve.
Okay.
But we'll talk to you on New Year's Eve.
So the week after. Well, very good. Well, then let me wish you a happy holidays to you and all the folks out there at Turf Paradise, and we'll catch up with you in 2 weeks.
And happy holidays to you and your audience.
All right. Thanks a lot. Michael Chamberlain from Turf Paradise. Prior to that, Gary Johnson from Beulah Park. Prior to that, we took a look at some stakes races from the past from Hollywood Park, and I do want to remind you, Sunday, closing day at Hollywood Park, Capital OTB will commemorate the event. First 100 patrons in the building here at the Clubhouse Racebook will receive a commemorative DVD looking at the 15 top stakes races from Hollywood's history. So come on down to the Racebook on Sunday. That's going to wrap things up for Racing Across America for this Tuesday morning. I'm Seth Merrill, always happy to have you on board. Racing Across America every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. we're in here. We give you some selections. Hopefully we gave you some thoughts that allow you to cash some tickets this afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.